Can I call an audible real quick? Can I ask
You sure
something?
can.
I'm just gonna ask Sam. Sam, what are the top three things you see money walking out the door for these events?
I think we've hit a couple. Is that, I took money out of my pocket, I put it into the room on, whatever item I was interested in bidding on. I got outbid, and maybe now it's crossed the threshold for me that I'm out on that item, and there's nothing left in the room for me. Nothing back that I'm interested in, and I put it back in my pocket and I go home. That's a big source of it.
Hey everybody, it's Trevor Nelson with a friendly reminder to make sure that you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks so much. Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming. This is fun. This is going to be a really, really fun episode. Good to see you again if you joined us before. Great to see you as well. If you haven't, thanks so much for coming to the HGA Free Webinar Series. My name's Trevor Nelson, Jason Ledlow. We're with HGA Fundraising. We provide the most profitable auction items in fundraising, but we're not going to talk a ton about items today, as a matter of fact. We might touch on it a little bit, but we've got a good friend of ours, Sam Staley, the CEO, founder of Event.Gives, and we are going to talk about, among a lot of things, we have a tendency to ramble, but it's all good and well-intended about fundraising. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about why it's so important to have a plan with your fundraising event. Why it's so important to prepare your donors to give at your event, and also make it easy for donors to give. And we're going to give you some ideas and some actionable steps that you can use to prepare donors to give, and ideas on ways to get them to give that you had no idea even existed, as a matter of fact. So we're going to talk about basically.
And I want to expand on that just for a second, because the title of the webinar is thousands of dollars. You're losing. And that's Correct. What we're talking about. There are thousands of dollars that are just there in the room, that are right there. And if these are some things, if you plan for these things, they don't walk out the door.
Yep. We just don't want to see it slip through your head, slip through your fingers.
You work so hard to get these people. You get the right people in the room. You've done all the planning. You've done all these things, and there's thousands and thousands of dollars there that are waiting to help your mission.
Yep.
But if we don't set things up prior to, we're going to miss that opportunity. They're going to walk out the door, and we're never going to get that chance again until next year, maybe. And
agreed.
So it's really about, so all these things that we're going to talk about today are really making sure that we're prepared to be equal opportunity receivers, as we like to say. We want to get all the dollars, all the money, and you should, because you work really hard to get all this stuff set up. Don't let something, because it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart whenever I hear somebody after an event and they go, well, I was trying to buy that deal. I didn't get it done. I guess, well, maybe next year. Mm-hmm. Holy smokes. That's, it was a $5,000 option. And I think that's one thing, Sam, the cool thing about having Sam here, and why I'm so excited about it today, is all the data. Mm-hmm. We talk about this all the time, that we get to work with thousands of events every year. And we get all this information, and we want to share it back out. And you've got the data, because that's what your business. You're in the data business, right?
Yeah. I get really nerdy about the data. I think it's where you can literally manufacture thousands of dollars out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're going to get into it, but pre-event, there's a way to think about things, during the event, and then post-event, and then there's lots of things, but. That data in terms of, pre-event, knowing who's coming to the event, meaning who bought tickets. And usually for us, same thing, we touch thousands of events a year. And oftentimes we have seen this individual last year, certainly, but oftentimes we've seen them across at other events as well. And it's about knowing that, hey, we've got 30 people on this attendee list that have spent greater than $5,000 on art in the past. You don't have any art items in your event. Let's go get you some, right? So it's all those little things that data can uncover for you.
I love that. Yeah, capitalizing on it. Like we said, this is just a great way. We're gonna plug in all the gaps with these actionable steps, and to show exactly how you can make sure that these thousands of dollars don't leave your room, because rest assured, there's plenty of giving potential in the room. And we're going to talk about setting the table. Real quick house cleaning. we're going to give something away at the end. So please stay to the end and win. Jason's very generous and likes to give away money at the end of every episode. Kind of cool. It was his idea, not mine. But but hey, this is an interactive webinar. We have Sam here. You have Jason here. I'm going to pitch in a little bit here and moderate. But hey, we've got a cool chat function, Q&A function. If you want to ask questions there anonymously, totally up to you. But you've got a couple experts here. We're going to riff for an hour. Please make sure that you keep the questions coming. Anything, nothing's off the table, so to speak. So really, really appreciate it. And then I just want to get us going. We're talking about, setting the table and getting folks prepared to give. And we're going to do it in a chronological, format, and then interject some great, points along the way. Let's talk about, notifying folks of the event, Sam. Let's talk about, once again, preparing folks. Here's what's happening. This is what we did. This is what you don't want to miss out on, things of that nature.
Well, can I ask?
On, whatever item I was interested in bidding on, I got outbid, and maybe now it's crossed the threshold for me that I'm out on that item and there's nothing left in the room for me, nothing back that I'm interested in. And I put it back in my pocket and I go home. That's a big source of it.
So, in this plan, so I remember a very specific example. I had a guest at my table, friends of mine, got plenty of money, was not an issue, but at the end, he said, I would have given money at the fund of need, but I didn't know what I'd won. Okay. He said, I didn't know what I'd won.
Yep.
At the silent auction because they weren't using software. Now, this has been a few years ago. So, I mean, this is not that. And so go ahead, please go.
I was going to say that's a great point. And even with software, I've had this conversation with, we have a lot of partner MCs and auctioneers, and we've had this conversation a lot. Even with software, you still have to know how to use it, right? And know what a proper run of show is. Because to your point, I'm sitting there. I know maybe I bid $1,200 on a guitar in the silent auction. And now you're asking me to raise my paddle for 500 or 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is. Maybe I can only give 1,000, but I don't know if I'm going to win the guitar yet because they didn't close the auction yet. So
exactly
that pattern and that cadence of the event really matters to intentionally say, we're closing this silent auction at 8 p.m. Get your bids in early so you can win. And at 8:30, we're going to have the sad puppy video to get the emotion up, and we're going to start raising paddles, right? And now you've got the right cadence for people to know, how, they're managing money on their side too, right? Oftentimes.
I love that.
So with that being said, going back to where Trevor was trying to go, and I just want to do it. So what's another one? So that's one that you mentioned. What's another one that you see where, boy, gosh, they're just people lose money on if they don't do this?
Yeah, I think a big one is, in addition to, we talked about marketing, pre-event, during event, post-event, all those sorts of things, and we'll get into the weeds of it. Yeah. But it's knowing who's coming to your event and making sure you've got opportunities for them to give. But I think a real big one people miss is inside of that who's coming are several different audiences coming from different places, different motivations. The easiest way to break that up is to say, there's a subset of these people that come in my room that I invited that I know are major donors, or I know they care about my cause. That's why I invited them. That's why they're coming. But there's a whole nother group of the friends that they invite to their table who might not have ever even heard of your cause. They just thought it'd be a fun time to come with their friend and sit at the table, maybe get a free dinner, maybe a great show, or maybe they do care about the cause, but they don't know much about it. So you've got to make sure you're resonating with your donors who might either have planned giving or are going to give something, but you need a message for those people who showed up with them, for them to have a why and for them to have the proper motivations as well.
Cool. Okay. So now that we've given all that, so now at the end of this time, those two questions hopefully are going to be answered, and you're really going to make sure that those don't happen to you. And so thanks for letting me kind of go off and break up your line. Okay, so I just want to let everybody know that's what we're going to get out of this today. We're going to learn how not to let that money walk out the door.
Yep.
So Trevor, back to your point, getting those things started, you started talking about pre-event advertising.
Yeah. And preparing donors to give. Sam, talk to us about like a sweet spot. I want to get in the weeds with this, and best practices for how far in advance do we, start messaging folks, start dripping out items? Once again, we're in that preparing donors to give phase. Yeah.
Yeah, I think pre-event, a lot of people, don't think about that this is when your event starts. It doesn't start at 9 p.m. on Friday. It starts
Perfect.
6 weeks prior, 8 weeks prior, right?
Yep.
And it's that, we see a lot of events going way out, maybe even 12 weeks with a save the date, right? Let's start thinking about it. And then of course we send it out, come buy your tickets, buy your table, register. That's well ahead. And for us, it's really important to think about it in terms of whether this is a new donor showing up to the event for the first time or even past donors. This is where we start our relationship with them for the event is 6 weeks prior. And it's that ticket purchase and that registration where we're starting to get their name. We're, if they're buying a table or a ticket, they're going to pay for it with a card. We've now got that on file. We can start pushing them to say, hey, you bought that table. Start inviting people. Go in there and put names on seats for us, right? So we can count chicken and fish and all the things we need to do. So it's, there's a lot of logistics that it helps, but then it's, let's open items 3 weeks early. Let's start, notifying people that we just put a really fun and interesting new item open for bid. And just kind of, it's marketing, right? Let's tease you and get you excited and get you ready for that event coming up through marketing prior to.
Love it.
Sam, do you think, speaking about marketing, because people get this, we get these questions a lot. So people will say, well, so when we send our stuff out, they get a full media kit. And we say, look, here are things, there's a full media kit and all the stuff's here so you can advertise these. And a lot of times, especially in today's world with all this information overload, do you recommend, or what we recommend, I want to see if you have a different point of view. We recommend just throughout that period of time, just advertise one thing. If you've got some kind of really great dinner with some rock star or something, just put out there that let that shine on its own, because you've got time, not just this, we're going to bombard you with all the stuff over and over and over and over and over again. Really detail in this time, because that way when somebody, they saw the first time, said, okay, the event, yeah, I'm going to go. And then they see the dinner with the rock star. Yeah, I really don't like rock music. But then they see, lunch with an astronaut. Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And they really start keying in on those things. So can you speak to that, how you guys recommend people to do that?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people do is they kind of go, hey, we're having the event. Here's a link. Go learn all about it. And dump everything on you, which is fine. You need a place for people to go see everything. But yeah, to your point, let's pick something interesting and highlight that.
Yes.
And, it doesn't even need to be, and the event, it's, here's lunch with an astronaut. That's amazing. I would love to go to lunch with an astronaut. Well, you got to come to this event, right? And so it's okay to lead with that and let the event be secondary until it's time for the event to be primary, right? So, this is kind of a new concept for us that we've really been baking into a lot of our messaging is, using psychology, right? We're talking about marketing, and you should really think of this as a product that you're producing an event that is your product that you need to market, right? Think of it that way. And don't apologize for marketing to your constituency, right? This is your job. But inside of that, we've really started dialing it in, and psychology is a big component of it. So we started actually thinking about in our messaging, let's think about, and, I can kind of get in the weeds of this for anybody who's interested, but, there's personality assessments. There's the DISC personality assessment that we really love to focus on. And if you've ever done one or taken one, you will be amazed at how accurate it will describe you. They are spot on, right?
You cannot, I was having a conversation this morning about it. You can't fool the test.
Yeah. That's right. Especially if you don't know you're taking the test. And that's a lot of what we do too, is we're building in little prompts to kind of get that information back from you. But the DISC, D-I-S-C, the idea of that is that everyone's personality can be broken down into these four, kind of larger states of your personality. One is, dominant personality, all down the line. But within that, we like to think about when we send a communication, let's make sure that we're intentionally including phraseology that's going to resonate with the D's and the I's and the S's and the C's. And so, some kind of examples of that are, I might send out something that says lunch with an astronaut. This guy's been to the moon. He's got knowledge about things that you can't know without talking to him. And these are very objective things that a high D personality would go, that makes complete sense. That sounds like a very valuable proposition that I would like to have lunch with this guy.
Yeah.
But then you talk about these stories he has, these amazing stories he has, and he's such a charismatic guy. And imagine being able to tell your friends that you had lunch with an astronaut. Now I'm hitting that personality that cares about what people think about me, and it's thinking about that and resonating with those really 4 basic individual traits that's going to hit every single person that you're messaging. So thinking about the psychology and how you phrase things within your messaging is really important.
I love it.
I think that's a really good point. And I don't think, I hadn't thought of it. I literally had a conversation about disc test this morning, and I was telling one of our guys, and I said, there's 2 sides of it. We have what we call your natural, and then your implied. So we all have one, but when times of pressure and stress, we'll absolutely go to the natural. And so it was real interesting, but I hadn't thought about that from a messaging standpoint with that, because it does totally make sense.
Understanding the
Totally
audience.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're a person of if you're a compliance person, so DISC is dominance, dominance, influence, sateability, and compliance. Is that right?
I'm going to agree with you, because I was trying to think of 2, and you saw me kind of balk on it earlier, but you're close. Yeah.
So, but like compliance, that means like my wife is a C. She's an accountant, CPA. She is a compliance. She's a rule follower, paints inside the lines, never even steps on the line. Me, I'm a high DI, and I have no
Same.
S and no C. And so it's
Same.
kind of a funny thing when you mention that. So, wow, y'all didn't know you were going to learn all about this personality test.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
But it does matter, because that's what,
That's your audience.
how you speak to them, because some people would just blip right over that.
Yeah.
So
I also like the idea that I love the different messaging tactics. Once again, we're still in the stage where we're preparing donors to give. You talked about advertising. Sam, you live in the advertising space when it comes to, highlighting what's happening, the event. You're trying to get motivated bidders, and happy bidders. We'll get to that too. And I love your take on that. And people in the seat, so to speak, that are wanting to give. I just think that you can't go wrong as long as you have a plan and there's a reasoning behind it. I'm a big believer in there not being a lot left. That's a mystery, so to speak, when you walk in. Like, I think that you should know that there's going to be lunch with an astronaut, as a live auction item. I don't think that should be a mystery. I don't think you should over-index folks with messaging, but that shouldn't be something where they go, oh, hey, holy smokes, when they're walking by check-in and they see the live auction preview. Oh, I had no idea there was going to be, unless they've been hiding under a rock or they don't check their phone, or every text and every email from the organization is going to their spam. I think these things should be known. Now I sound opinionated about it if you tell me there should be some teasers things and different opportunities to give that, play both sides. If you have,
I'm going to give you a thought on this. I want to hear Sam. So
yeah, please,
because this is a real specific thing. So over the years, you'd have somebody say, hey, we're going to use this as a surprise auction item. And it's something they want to bring like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And I'm like, why do you want it to be a surprise? Well, we think it'll really get the room going. I said, yeah, but if nobody's ready to write a check for $20,000 for that,
we got a problem.
You got a problem.
We got a Mayday
But if
issue.
people have started preparing for it, and they're going, I really want that.
Yeah. Talk to us about that, Sam.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, and I you'll tend to see me play devil's advocate with
it's okay
right?
though. Yeah, it's fine.
And so in product, and I'll put on my product hat for a moment. When I build products, I truly believe the largest driver of a product that wants you to use it is randomness, meaning what's going to happen next when I do this. I want to find out. Let me keep doing it and keep using this product, right? And then a little bit of mystery. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I was just talking about this recently when I talk about for my kids. I love to surprise them. When we go on vacation, I love to hold it back to the point where I go, hey, let's go out for ice cream down the street. and 5 hours later, we're surprised at Disney World, right? And so I love that, but I realized in doing that, I was robbing them of the anticipation of that trip and the all the time prior to the trip where they're thinking and imagining and fantasizing about how fun this is going to be.
And on their best behavior, hopefully.
Exactly. So I think it's the same. Don't rob your attendees of that anticipation of coming to the event to get to participate in this thing or have a chance at that lunch with the astronaut, right?
Really good.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you love our podcast, click the download button, rate us, and follow us on social media at HGA Fundraising. Get out there, start fundraising, and raise more money. See you next time.